We're Fast Fitness Consulting, Corbin and Marino, here with another module on nutrition tips.
So what is our food made of? So our food is going to be made of calories, which give us energy, but within that, it's going to be made of macronutrients and micronutrients, both doing different things.
Your macronutrients are your proteins, your carbs, and your fats.
So the macronutrients are each going to have a different amount of energy that they provide for you, and the micronutrients are going to do different things within our body.
So your calories and your macronutrients affect weight loss the most. Micronutrients are still important, mainly for keeping your organs healthy.
So there are a couple of different steps to determining the healthiness of a certain food. The first thing we want to look at is the sugar to carb ratio. How many grams of sugar are in the total amount of carbohydrates in that food? So you want to make sure that you're eating a food that has a low sugar to carb ratio. So small amount of sugar to the total amount of carbohydrates in there. Next, we want to look at the protein and want to make sure that it has a high protein count. So the higher the amount of protein in there, the better.
Next, we want to look at the amount of saturated fat in the food. So under the total fat, you'll see the saturated fat. We want to keep that as low as possible within our diet. A little bit of saturated fat is okay, but we don't want to go crazy on it. Lastly, we want to look at the micronutrients and the fiber within the food. A high amount of micronutrients, that is vitamins and minerals, is good. It's going to keep you healthy. And a high amount of fiber is good. We don't need excessive amounts of fiber, and we'll get into this later, but you do want to eat high fiber foods. They will help keep you full on a diet as well.
So if you want to take some time to just look over this list, these are some very high quality sources of protein. So take a moment and just check out this list.
And in general, when you're looking at a source of protein, you want to make sure that you are limiting saturated fat and sodium. So try to keep both of those low. So you can take a look over this list of healthy carbs. What we consider making a carb healthy is if you're choosing white or wheat, try to choose 100% whole wheat. Number two, we want to choose low glycemic, low sugar, and high fiber foods. Those are going to help keep you fuller longer when you're on a diet.
So in general, these carbohydrates are going to be low in sugar and high in the good sources of carbs. Fibrous foods are going to be foods that have carbohydrates, and of those carbohydrates, a lot of what you're receiving is coming from fiber. So take a look at this list. These are some good sources of fibrous foods.
On this page are some healthy sources of fat. We want to be choosing unsaturated fats if possible. And we want to remember that just because a fat is healthy does not mean that it fits within your calorie or macronutrient goals. So we do want to be consuming healthy fats, but we still want to be staying within our macro goals, that is our proteins, carbs, and our fats for the day, and our calorie goals. So for healthy drinks, we want to be consuming as much water as we can. Water is very, very good for weight loss, and in particular, fat loss. So it helps you lose fat while maintaining muscle. It also speeds up your metabolism, boosts your strength in the gym. Very, very good. So drink as much as you can.
Calorie-free drinks are okay, but again, in moderation. There's still something in there that isn't necessarily great for you. So just because there are no calories in there, there's still some kind of chemicals that are in that drink. So calorie-free drinks are okay, but in moderation.
And then if you're drinking coffee, coffee itself, black coffee, does not have any calories in it. But if you're adding sugar or cream, you definitely need to track that and try to limit that as much as you can.
When it comes to sauces, we want to shoot for as low sodium and as low calories as possible.
So take a look at this list of sauces and see if you like any of them. And if you do, feel free to include them in your diet. Here are some helpful hints that you should really take into consideration. These are going to help make A, cooking things a lot easier, and B, make them taste a lot better. So number one is spices. So you can add spices to anything because spices do not have any calories in them. They don't even have sodium in them as long as it's the pure spice. So things like garlic powder, onion powder, red pepper, oregano, spices like that, pepper, you can add to anything and it's fine. You don't have to track them.
Another great way of being able to hit all of your macronutrient goals, especially if you're having trouble hitting a certain one, is blending your food in a smoothie. So combining all of the nutrients that you need into one giant smoothie is a good way of just kind of getting all those nutrients in all at once.
And if you don't like something like spinach or kale, but you still want to include it in your diet for the health benefits, for the micronutrients, you can blend those into a smoothie, and as long as you blend it really fine, you aren't going to taste them at all.
When it comes to fruits and vegetables, fresh and frozen are best. So you want to make sure that you're eating fruits and vegetables that are either from a fresh source or they're frozen, not from a can.
And the reason we recommend against canned fruits and vegetables is because there's a lot of preservatives in there which aren't necessarily great for you. They might include a lot of sodium, which you don't want to be too high in your diet. So fresh and frozen if possible. And a healthy habit to get into if you are buying something like frozen salmon or frozen chicken breasts is to take one or two out every night and put them in the fridge, and by the morning they'll be thawed out and then you can use them in the day. So you have to be preparing for the next day in order to make sure that you're hitting your macronutrient goals. When you're cooking your chicken up, slice it nice and thin and then put it in the pan with the cover on so everything's steaming up. It'll cook very fast and it'll also be pretty tender.
And then once your chicken is all cooked, you can take that off the pan and put your spinach in there and keep the cover on it, and the steam will cook the spinach up nicely as well.
So that's just a really quick, easy meal. So if your fat goal for the day is pretty low, you probably do not want to be cooking with too much oil because that will make you hit your fat goal really quickly and you'll run out of fat for the day. So what you can do is buy the spray-on oil. So something like Pam, which has zero everything in there. It'll still allow you to cook your chicken, your vegetables, your eggs without adding any fat to it.
Additionally, we just wanted to provide you with some sample meals. So take a moment to look over this list and just check out some of these really quick and easy meals to make.
These are meals that we eat personally a lot. Number one, because they're quick. Number two, because they're easy. And number three, because they're really healthy. So remember, keeping your stomach full of things like water, low calorie but high volume foods like vegetables will help keep you fuller longer when you're dieting. So it'll prevent you from being hungry.
So remember, for weight loss, for what we're focusing on right now, calories are king.
Hitting your calories and your protein goals, if you can hit both of those, that's really solid. And a good rule of thumb for fruits and vegetable consumption is to eat 1 to 2 servings of each for every 1,000 calories of food you eat. You don't necessarily have to calculate it out, but try to make sure you're eating around that much.
Just to reiterate one last time, water, water, water. So water is the most important drink that you could be consuming right now. It's going to help with every single chemical reaction in our body, and it's going to help with our overall well-being, but it is definitely going to help with fat loss and gaining muscle as well. So drink as much water as you can.
So that was the Nutrition Tips module. Reach out to your consultant with any questions. See you for the next module.